Known as the Bladensburg Memorial Cross or Peace Cross, it was dedicated in 1925 to honor men who had fought and died during the First World War.
But a lawsuit filed in 2014 called it a Christian symbol and sought to have it removed. The case went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court.
A documentary called Save the Peace Cross highlights the entire legal process and delves into the monument's history. Joining us now is the film's executive producer, Rene Green. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Most definitely.
So can you talk a little bit, just give us a history of the Peace Cross?
Yes, the Peace Cross was designed and built. They broke ground for it in 1919. And actually, Martha Redmond was one of the ladies that actually broke ground for it. Her son had died in World War I, and so many other. This monument is dedicated to 49 men from Prince George's County that died in World War I. And we have to remember, in World War I, this was the first world war that we, as a country, had been in. And a lot of the men, their bodies did not come back. So to honor them, they decided, the mothers got together and decided that the most appropriate thing to do would be to have a huge tombstone. And they wanted it big enough that everyone would be able to see it. No one would be able to forget the sacrifice that these 49 men paid for our freedom, for our country. So that's kind of the beginning of the history of it. And then, you know, what they had to do back then to actually get a monument built. It was a community thing. The whole community pulled together to help out and to do fundraising and everything that they possibly could to get this done. And they ran out of money. And then the American Legion stepped in, and they helped out with the money and with the funding, and then they were able to finish it. And then it was actually completely finished in 1925. So it was dedicated in July of 1925.
Now, we had just mentioned that it went all the way to the Supreme Court. How did it end up in the Supreme Court?
Well, it was a huge battle. It took a long time. It took almost 5 years to get all the way to the Supreme Court because it started out locally. I mean, you would have thought that who in the world would have wanted to have a World War I memorial removed? Well, there was a group of, from the American Humanist Association, recruited 3 people, 3 plaintiffs, to file the lawsuit. And they filed it saying, oh, you know, we drove by this and we feel as though this is a Christian cross. It's not a Christian cross. It's been there for 100 years. It's a war memorial, always has been. So one of the things that I did in the documentary is I wanted to bring the history, and I wanted people to see and know about the 49 men so that you can know more about the Peace Cross so you can support its significance and its continued existence. But what ended up happening in 2014, it was February 2014, they filed their case. So it first went to the federal court right here in Greenville. So they decided that it was constitutional. Well, then it got appealed. Monica Miller from the American Humanist Association appealed it. Went to the 4th District Court down in Richmond. So they said that it was not constitutional, and that one of them even mentioned to take the arms off of it, to remove the arms. Well, anyway, then it was appealed again, and it went to the Supreme Court. So this is the best thing that it could have done, was to go to the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court made their decision, and that's final.
Right.
The Peace Cross is here to stay.
Terrific.
So do you think that maybe the documentary helped in shaping public opinion on the issue for it to still be here?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I know it did, because I brought so much awareness to it. But not only that, when I'm doing the documentary, I realized that it was listed as a historic place, but it was not on the National Register of Historic Places. So I actually walked it through and got it listed on September 8, 2015 on the National Register of Historic Places. That should have been a game changer for the lawsuit.
Yeah,
It wasn't, because they never really brought that up, but it actually is on the National Register of Historic Places. So with it being on there, if we had had that on there before, there couldn't have been really a lawsuit brought against it.
Now, me and you were talking in the green room, and you brought up a really good issue about the First Amendment and how that brought it to the forefront. Talk about how important it was on both sides.
Yeah.
Briefly.
I mean, this case is a perfect example of the First Amendment. It's a history lesson, but it's also about the First Amendment. It should be taught in every high school throughout the country. My documentary should be seen in every high school throughout the country, because it does deal with the First Amendment. I mean, everyone has their opinion. And the ironic thing is that these 49 men died for our freedom. And yet there was a group of atheists that wanted to have it torn down. They're right to their opinion. But this was not a religious memorial.
Right.
It is a World War I memorial.
Well, we want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us. Thank you so much. If you'd like more information on the documentary or would like to view the video, log on to SaveThePeaceCross.com.